Tokyo Disney Resort is home to two of the four most popular theme parks in the world, Tokyo Disneyland and Tokyo DisneySea. But maybe you're visiting soon and you only have one day, or you have an odd number of days and you don't know where to spend your extra day, or maybe you're just curious to learn more about these unique theme parks. I'm Jordan from 8-Bit Theme Park, I live in Tokyo, and today we're going to finally answer the question, which is better, Tokyo Disneyland or Tokyo DisneySea? So to make this a bit more structured, I'm going to use the same categories that the wonderful guys at Review Time use for their park reviews, as I think they do a really good job of covering basically everything that makes a theme park so good. So firstly, we're going to compare family rides. Now, even though they're so different, these are both still Disney parks, so you can expect them to have some of the best family rides in the world. We'll get onto the thrill rides in a bit, but even those have pretty short height restrictions, so if your kids are brave, they'll be able to tackle almost everything in both of these parks. So they both have some excellent family rides, but one of the parks simply has so much more than the other, and that's Tokyo Disneyland. This park has had 40 years to grow, and it shows. You can also tell that while DisneySea was trying to cater more to slightly older guests, Disneyland has been covering the family market for years, so they've been adding some jaw-dropping rides more recently as well that the whole family can enjoy. So they have the quality, but they also have the quantity. For better or worse, the standard at DisneySea is so high that the park simply wouldn't be able to get away with having some old-fashioned dark rides like Pinocchio or Snow White, which leaves the park with a lot less rides for young kids to do. Assuming your kids don't mind being crushed by boulders or being abducted and turned into donkeys. Those rides are so weird when you think about it, aren't they? Yeah, the high bar DisneySea sets for themselves sort of writes them out of being able to do these more simple, nostalgic types of rides. Having said that, we can't sell DisneySea short. They have the incredible slow-moving boat ride Sinbad's Storybook Voyage, which could give It's a Small World a run for its money in the Best Boat Ride with Infectiously Catchy Music and Adorable Tiny Animatronics category. Aquatopia, which will put a smile on any kid's face, and some rides you may know from the other Disney theme parks around the world, such as Toy Story Mania and Soaring. Both absolute favorites for younger guests. Personally, I think Soaring is like the ultimate family ride. I can ride that with my daughter, my mum, and my grandma, and all of us absolutely love it. As I said, DisneySea was intended to be more of an adult park, in contrast to Disneyland being more for younger guests, but it seems recently that they're trying to have both parks appeal to as broad an audience as possible. So I have to say, from June, DisneySea is going to have 4 new family rides, 3 of which are going to be big main event rides, with the 4th, the Tinkerbell ride, seeming to be a sort of solution to the exact problem I just talked about, of the park trying to have every ride be jaw-dropping. This is going to be a really sweet little 2-minute ride that I think a lot of kids will really enjoy. Meanwhile, next door at Disneyland, they're adding a brand new version of Space Mountain, the park's first new thrill ride in decades. But before we get into thrill rides, Tokyo Disneyland simply has the most for families to do. Ranging from classics like Haunted Mansion and Pirates of the Caribbean, to modern marvels like Beauty and the Beast and Monsters Inc. and Pooh's Honey Hunt. Don't get me wrong, DisneySea does have plenty for kids to do too, but Tokyo Disneyland probably has the best lineup of family rides out of any park in the whole world, so Disneyland wins the first round. Next up, thrill rides. Now, it has to be said as a caveat, none of the rides at either park are going to be the biggest or the fastest thing you've ever seen. Disney parks simply don't do that. But what they do is enhance moderate thrills with effects, environments, animatronics, and storytelling to fully immerse the guests and create unforgettable moments. So you're probably thinking, well, you already said DisneySea is for older guests, so that has to have the better thrill rides, right? Well, we'll take a look at what Disneyland has first. Really, we're looking at the classic Disney mountains. We've got Space Mountain, although again, this will be gone very soon to be replaced with a modern indoor coaster, so we can't say too much about that right now. Big Thunder Mountain, which is an absolutely exquisite family coaster. Whizzing through these highly themed environments is always a joy. And finally, Splash Mountain, with its endearing atmosphere and animatronic figures, enhanced by the fun drops along the way until you get to the big one at the end, and you're met with a boat full of critters celebrating your arrival. So that's 3 great thrill rides, but with one of them going on the shelf soon. So let's go next door and look at Tokyo DisneySea. The first thing you'll Disney see when you Disney walk in the park is Mount Prometheus. But this is actually home to a thrill ride, Journey to the Center of the Earth. Similar to Splash Mountain, this packs all of its thrills right at the end, but everything building up to that moment is jaw-dropping. The effects, environments, and animatronics will increase your heart rate before the vehicles have even had a chance to zoom out of the side of the volcano, throwing you out of your seat before whizzing around to the unload station. Possibly the best thrill ride Disney have ever made. Other possible contenders for best Disney thrill ride ever? Tower of Terror and Indiana Jones Adventure, and hey, DisneySea has both of these rides too. They do differ from those in the American parks, and it has to be said that between the over-the-shoulder seatbelt and the shorter ride cycle, Tower of Terror is lacking a little in the thrill department compared to the other versions around the world. But the story they tell in the queue and pre-shows is one of the best, and makes this attraction as a whole a joy. And then we have Indiana Jones being the ultimate fast-paced ghost train, going a mile a minute through these densely themed areas. Oh, I love this ride. DisneySea does also have Raging Spirits, but if you were expecting the only thrill coaster at DisneySea to be something special, it's not really. The theming and effects do add a lot to the ride, but it's a pretty short little coaster with a loop in the middle that's over before you know it. However, DisneySea clearly wins out for the best thrill rides of the two parks. So we're neck and neck. If you're enjoying this video, please give it a like. If you love it, please subscribe for more. And if you want to support me and get special perks, please check out the Patreon. A huge thank you to everyone who does that. Next up is experiences, meaning entertainers and performers who are roaming around the parks. Sadly, the entertainment budget has been absolutely slashed for both parks since the pandemic, and we're still waiting for it to return to anything close to its former glory. So it's pretty rare to see entertainers out and about throughout either park. The one thing you do still see a bit of is characters. With the Japanese yen absolutely bombing and showing no sign of recovery anytime soon, hiring foreign performers is becoming more and more expensive at a time when the resort are already reluctant to pay for entertainers who bring little to no return on investment in their eyes. I don't know if it's the layout of the park or that they have more other entertainment, which we'll get into next, but you do seem to see more characters at Disneyland rather than DisneySea, so I'm gonna give this one to Disneyland by a small margin, but yeah, the roaming entertainment is pretty sad at the moment, I can't lie. Okay, so next up is entertainment, and in the past, there would have been a clear winner in this category, and there is a clear winner now, but remarkably, they've swapped places. When Tokyo DisneySea first opened, it was jaw-droppingly beautiful, but didn't have a ton of rides. That was totally fine though, as the park prided itself on having a stellar array of entertainment. From harbor shows to theater shows to street performers, entertainment was the beating heart of this park, and a huge part of what made it so impactful to anyone who visited. Sadly, the pandemic changed all of that. Now we have no street performers, the daytime harbor shows have gone from stunning displays to a single boat rolling around with Mickey on it, and several theaters are still completely empty all these years later. We do have a nice nighttime harbor show though, which is pretty spectacular, so at least we get to end the day on a high. Over at Disneyland, however, while there have still been cutbacks, all their theaters still have shows. The park has an excellent daytime parade, Harmony in Color, and the nostalgic nighttime parade, Tokyo Disneyland Electrical Parade, Dream Lights, which goes on and on in the best possible way. And Tokyo Disneyland will get extra parades for seasonal events too, whilst Tokyo DisneySea gets a slightly different single boat. Both parks share a single fireworks show every night, but one is just 4 minutes long, and two, it's cancelled most of the time anyway, so think of this as a little bonus if it happens, rather than planning your day around seeing it. And yeah, it's exactly the same fireworks show for both parks, you're just looking at it from a different angle, so it doesn't really affect this comparison video. What's crazy is that whilst DisneySea shows no signs of improvement in the entertainment department, Disneyland keeps moving ahead. In September, we'll be getting an as-yet unnamed castle projection show in the evenings. So, entertainment definitely goes to Disneyland. Hopefully DisneySea improves once their enormous expansion has opened up. Next, we're comparing the staff, and whilst you'd be right in thinking they're basically the same in both parks, there are some ways that they do differ. It has to be said that the cast members here are a joy. When Japanese customer service meets Disney magic, you end up with something very special. Sadly though, the language and culture barrier often prevents foreign guests from having the same kinds of meaningful interactions that you'll probably see Japanese guests having. But if you approach a cast member and say it's your birthday or your first visit, they'll be very happy to give you a sticker with your name on it. Just be aware, if you wear the birthday sticker, every single cast member that sees you for the rest of the day will wish you a happy birthday. which I personally love, but I know not everyone likes that kind of thing. Okay, so how are the staff different depending on the park? Well, they're not. But as I said in the entertainment portion of the video, Disneyland has a lot more going on, and this has a positive and a negative effect on the staff. We'll start with the negative. The first time I came here, I'd heard that the cast members at Tokyo Disney are the best in the world, and I'd always found the cast members in America to be wonderful, so we were really excited to see the cast members here. We were then shocked to see them yelling rules at the guests constantly. Tokyo Disneyland has parades going on through a lot of the day, especially during an event, so there's a lot of time when the cast members are yelling about which way you should go, where you can't go, where you can sit, where you have to stand, where to walk, and it can be a bit much. The positive of all this activity, though, is that it's very easy to find a cast member, which makes those special interactions a little more common. The events also add some energy, and they give the cast members something new to do every few months, which I think helps them to keep their energy up, as it's not just the same thing day in, day out. Right now, for example, is the Palpalooza event, and there's this sort of pose for the event, which is two people forming a heart with their arms. Last time I was in the park, I saw these two groups of cast members who were like standing at either side of the walkway, just doing this pose to each other and giggling to themselves. When you see that kind of stuff, it's really sweet, so because that's kind of happening more at Tokyo Disneyland, I'm gonna give them this point. Our next category is theming. Yeah, let's not waste any time pretending. Of course it's DisneySea. Don't get me wrong though, Tokyo Disneyland is very sweet and nostalgic, and I love it there, and there are some really beautiful areas of that park too, but no park on the planet can compare to Tokyo DisneySea for theming. I always say it's as if the designers refuse to allow you to ever not be looking at something beautiful. The reveals between each of the areas renew your sense of awe and wonder at every corner, and the rich storytelling that weaves throughout the park adds layers and layers of exploration the more you appreciate the place. I hope to do a big old monster video at some point going into all this in detail, but for the purpose of this video, DisneySea wins theming by a mile. Okay, next topic. Shopping is another one that's very similar across both parks. Like I talked about in my recent 10 things that suck about Tokyo DisneySea video, you can get some great merch here, but it sells out quickly and it's changing all the time, so it's hard to judge. You'll see a lot of the same things in the different shops, and a lot of it will be highly catered to Japanese guests, meaning small clothes with cheesy character-heavy designs, shops that are completely full of omiyage, which is these snack boxes, and a lot of randomized mystery boxes too. The winner of this category may also surprise you, because it surprised me when I first came here, but one of the two parks does have a few unique shops that don't just sell the same Disney merch that all the other ones do, and instead sell things unique to that specific shop. And no, it's not DisneySea. Tokyo Disneyland has shops in Westernland and Adventureland which sell all sorts of things, from pirate medallions to leather clothes to even perfume. This kind of realism and maturity, I expected to see more of at DisneySea, but nope. It's worth mentioning, if you're a fan of Duffy and Friends, you can only find that stuff at DisneySea, so that might make them the winner in your book, but for me, I get tired of seeing the same things in every shop all day, so a bit of variety puts Disneyland in the winning spot for me for shopping. The next category that Review Time use is affordability. Now, both parks are exactly the same price for the same day, so this doesn't really apply to a comparison video. DisneySea does have more expensive restaurants than Disneyland, but there are still plenty of other options at every other price range. At Disneyland, you do probably get better value for money, as you'll get on more rides and you'll see more entertainment, but we talked about those earlier, so I'm just going to leave this one as a draw. If you're coming from abroad, there's a good chance the conversion into Japanese yen basically makes everything free anyway, so you're not going to be bothered about any of this. Next up is atmosphere. The atmosphere in these parks is great. If you're there on a busy day or a quieter day, you'll still see groups of friends wearing matching headbands and excitedly dancing along to shows and entertainment around the parks. The guests are generally very respectful here, and it's such a fun contrast going from busy central Tokyo, where everyone tries their best to ignore each other, to being in Tokyo Disney Resort, where everyone smiles and waves to each other all day. Again, I want to give Disneyland the edge on this one, because more entertainment means more chances for guests to dance and clap along and be excited by new things, but it does also make the park a little more congested, so let's call this one a draw too. As for services, again, this is an area in which both parks are very similar. They both have smoking rooms, yeah, you smoke indoors here, guest services, and plenty of toilets and everything else you might expect. So let's take this as a chance to talk more broadly about how each park is catered to English-speaking guests. Whilst most things are pretty easy to understand despite the language barrier, it is always nice to hear some English, and the older of the two parks will give you a lot more of that. When Tokyo Disneyland opened in 1983, the intention was to make guests feel like they'd gone abroad to America, so they wanted to copy the existing parks as closely as possible. This even extended to the dialogue in some of the rides, so still to this day, if you ride Pirates of the Caribbean or Haunted Mansion, you'll hear the pirates and ghosts speaking English in both rides. Disneyland is also just a lot easier to get around with its hub and spoke layout rather than the sprawling layout of DisneySea, so it's a lot less confusing there too. Especially if you've been to a Disney Castle park before, you'll basically know where everything is and what to expect. Whereas DisneySea is a whole new beast, so I'm gonna give this one over to Disneyland as well. So the results are in, and honestly, I surprised myself with this, so probably surprising you too. You know, I'm a massive nerd for both parks, and I adore both of them, so if you have the time, I would definitely recommend doing both parks when you visit. But going through the parks categorically like this, Tokyo Disneyland has emerged as our winner. If you want some more details at some of the problems I touched upon at the most beautiful theme park in the world, DisneySea, you should check out this video where I managed to think of 10 things that suck at Tokyo DisneySea.